Today I'm going to deploy a self-healing VM to GCP. I'm going to deploy the VM using Terraform and I'm going to configure it using Ansible. I'm going to use Ansible to configure a service on the VM that are going to perform a few tests. In this example, I'm going to test if the Nginx service is up and running. I'm going to test the disk usage, if it's below a certain threshold that I specify, and if there were changes to the SSHD configuration. Once the machine fails any of those tests, it knows how to heal itself. So let's start. That's the main.tf that I use to deploy my VM. I create my VPC, a subnet. I gave my VM a static IP, the firewall rules to allow SSH and HTTP. I create a service account that I'm going to use for log monitoring later on. And of course, my VM. After I deployed this VM using Terraform, I used Ansible to configure everything that I need. I got its external IP and I added to my inventory.ini file. So that's the playbook that I'm going to be running. I'm going to run apt security system updates, then I'm going to install nginx curl and git, then I'm going to configure my index.html that I'm going to serve on my nginx server. I'm going to create a file where my logs are going to be written. I'm going to specify my sshd baseline config file that is going to be inside my templates, and I have sshd_config. That's the baseline that I want. Back to the playbook. Later on, I'm going to show you what am I using it for. And then I'm going to move forward to copying the core of my remediation service. My remediation.sh file is right here under files remediation.sh. Specifying a path to write logs to. And that's the function that's going to write my logs. The first test I'm going to run is that I'm going to curl my nginx host. And if it's not running, then I'm going to systemctl restart it. And if it answers after 2 seconds, great. And if not, then I'm going to log a critical error failure. Another test that I'm performing is the disk usage. I'm going to check what my disk usage is, and if it's above 50%, first of all, I'm going to log it on my log file, and then I'm going to perform this remediation. I'm going to rmf files on my temp directory. Then I'm going to delete entries on my journalctl, and I'm going to run apt get clean. And after doing that, I'm going to check again what my disk usage is. And if I could fix the issue, then I'm going to log recovered, and if not, I'm going to say that I have a problem. The third thing that I'm going to check if there were changes to the sshd config file. That's going to be my baseline sshd config file, and it contains all of the configurations that I want to enforce. For example, I want permit root logging to be no. If there are changes to this configuration, I'm going to first of all log a line, and I'm going to make it go back to what it was before. If I could fix the issue, then I'm going to log recovered, and if not, I'm going to log critical. Back to my playbook. I don't want the brain of my project to be a simple.sh file, so I want to create a daemon out of it. And inside my templates directory, I have the remediation.service file, and that's how I'm going to create my daemon. I also want to create a timer daemon that is going to check if the previous service is up and running, and it's going to be based on this remediation.timer inside my templates directory. And here it is. Then I'm going to flush the handlers, enable and start my remediation timer service, enable and start nginx. I'm going to install Google Cloud Agent for native GCP monitoring. Right, so I open another terminal, cd into my directory, and I ran ansible-playbook-i inventory.ini playbook.yaml, and I ran all of my tasks. And as you can see, everything went smoothly, and in the end, I have 0 failed, 0 unreachable, 0 skipped, everything the way we want it to be. Go to VM instances, that's my instance, I'm gonna SSH into it. I also SSH into it on another terminal, and I'm gonna leave them side by side. So on my right side, I'm gonna tail my log file. On my left side, I'm gonna perform my tests. The first thing that I'm gonna do is the systemctl stop nginx. Now let's see if my service can self-heal. As you can see, it immediately logged that I have a problem and it recovered it. See if it's working. And yes, my nginx is up and running. I'm going to run my second command. I'm going to use fellocate to create a huge file and store it on my temp directory. Now if I run df-h, I can see that I arrived to 61% of my disk usage. Let's see if it triggers my service. Yes, it does. It could find that I had a disk pressure and allocation reduced from 61 to 17%. So it successfully identified my disk usage. Let's see if it's accurate. Yes, it reduced from 61 to 17%. Awesome. For a security test, I'm gonna check if someone can manually change my permit root login on my SSH config file. I'm gonna reload SSH. And I found a security drift. Someone manually changed permit root login to yes. It got remediated and the baseline got enforced. That's it. That's how you can have a self-healing VM that is going to heal itself based on the policies that you enforce.